In this video, I'm going to show you my methodology of quickly identifying high probability exploit scripts that you're going to be using on your OSCP exam or other CTFs you may be doing. So this is another OSCP exam video again, so the methodology here is going to save you time and help you avoid that rabbit hole that you might waste a lot of time on during the exam. Now, people call this various names like maybe hacker's crunch or something like that along those lines, where you sort of develop that intuition over time. So this is what I'm going to try and do in this video. So we're going to pretend we are looking at a Drupal website. So you have identified that the vulnerable application is running Drupal, and now you are going to try and find an exploit script for that. So I think this is going to be a good exercise just to show you how I go through looking at the output from SearchDB and GitHub and all the various places where you might find a public exploit that you can use. Okay, so let's get into it. You identified as Drupal, straight away you're going to go search exploit Drupal, and then you're going to get a bunch of output. So this is basically all the scripts, public exploits out there that potentially will be useful for you to exploit this application. And ideally, to start with, you are going to try and find that version number that's on that Drupal application. So there are various ways where you can find that version number. So I've just pulled up a Hack the Box walkthrough just as an example. So you've got this Drupal website, and one of the places where you can find that version number is the change log. For other applications, you might be looking for like a information icon in the top right corner, for example. Or you may be looking at the source code, or you may be looking at just various different pages on the website where you want to try to see if you can pull up that version number. Now, some of these things might be pretty well hidden or hard to see, so you want to be really careful and just comb the website or whatever application you come across really carefully to see if you can identify that version number. So once you do identify that version number, let's say that version was 7.58. Now, straight away, you are going to eliminate all of these exploits below version 7.58 because usually when you've got public exploits, the higher version numbers are going to work on the lower version numbers, and the lower version number exploits are not going to work on the higher ones because presumably they would have been patched when this exploit was released to the public. So if your version number is, for example, 7.58, you're going to look at these exploits that are higher than the version number that you identified. So start from the higher version numbers here. So we are looking at these ones to start with. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to look on the right-hand side with the path. So this path is going to essentially tell you what format the exploit is going to be. You want to prioritize the Python scripts. So all of these that says .py, these are Python scripts that potentially can work out of the box for you and save you the most time. So the most high probability ones that you want to work with first are the ones with the .py at the end. So we've got this one and then we've got this one. So straight away you want to download these exploits onto your computer. So you can go search exploit M, and then you can go ahead and copy this guy here. And that'll essentially download that script into your home folder. So once you do that, usually the Python scripts are going to be pretty easy to work with. You're probably, or hopefully, it's going to require minimal changes to make that exploit work. If you open up that exploit code and you find that it's only going to be like you change the IP address and then you change the path or things like that. It's very easy to just fire off those exploits off at your target to see if they work and get you a shell. Obviously, if it's a real environment, you don't want to do that, but this is the OSCP exam and you can reset the box anytime you want. So just fire off these Python scripts, just like a script kiddie, just fire them off and see if they stick. Hopefully one of these will stick for you, and it's going to be pretty quick just to make some small changes to those scripts to just test if they work or not. Now, if you find that they don't work, don't troubleshoot them too much initially, because you want to look at other options before you dive into troubleshooting a particular script, which might be a rabbit hole. So this is one of the things where you want to try to avoid. So if a script doesn't work, you spend too much time troubleshooting it, and may not even be the correct foothold into that particular machine. So don't troubleshoot it too much just in the beginning. We are still doing our enumeration here and trying to identify the most likely exploit path. So what you want to do next is just keep in the back of your mind these ones here, and you're going to go on Google and you're going to go Drupal exploit GitHub. So this is going to be all the GitHub scripts that people may have written themselves, or they have modified according to their purposes based on these scripts in ExploitDB. So potentially when you're troubleshooting these, somebody else may have already troubleshooted that script for you and made a GitHub version. So if these scripts, you fire them off, it doesn't work, do a Google of that exploit and fire off these scripts as well. And hopefully that'll just, you'll find one of these that'll work for you straight out of the box with minimal changes. So that's just another tip where you can save a lot of time trying to identify the proper exploit path. Now, some things in GitHub, they actually don't show up in search exploit. So you want to be careful and do a search of search exploit and GitHub to try and find the most likely path to your initial shell or whatever exploit that you're trying to do on that machine. So for example, this one, I don't think I see this one on search exploit. So potentially this can be another extra thing that you can do, and definitely you can find useful things on GitHub. And even sometimes when you look in the issues section and such, you can even find some people discussing the exploit, and that'll be really applicable to your situation. So once you have identified all the possible paths or the scripts that you can use, and as the same advice with the GitHub exploits, start with the Python scripts, start with the scripts that don't require much playing around with, like bash scripts, Python scripts, and that kind of stuff. Python is definitely the hacker's choice of programming languages, and in my experience, Python scripts usually work the best, and that most of them work with pretty minimal changes on your end. So go through this and try to find the Python scripts that you can fire off. Just fire those off, make your changes with the IP address and put your correct arguments in there, and etc. And fire those off and see if it sticks. Now, if that still doesn't stick for you, then you will dig into these other ones that may be like a text file, or maybe like a Perl scripts are good as well. So look into these scripts. So the Perl script, you've got like bash script, etc. So look into the script, publicly available scripts first, and then if all of them don't work and you are going to dig further, then you're going to start with these text files. So these text files usually have some sort of description that you have to read through to try and understand how the exploit works. So that is not ideal. That's going to need a bit more time investment into trying to understand how it works, etc., etc. So scripts first, Python scripts first before other scripts, then other scripts, and then you're going to go to the text files and try to read it. Now, just do like a quick eyeball through all of these and try to just find, I guess this still comes down to a bit of art to it, maybe the hacker's crunch kind of thing. When you have looked at exploits enough times, you get a better feel of which scripts are going to work for you and which ones would require more troubleshooting. Especially if you start seeing the error messages, there is a bit of intuition there as to which error messages are worthwhile to troubleshoot and which is going to just take too much of your time. So there is still that factor there. Unfortunately, I can't really put into words. But if you do want to get a good feel of this stuff, people have said the Offensive Security Proving Grounds paid section is a really good way to practice for the OSCP identifying the exploits. Because in those machines on Proving Grounds, every time you do a search exploit, you get a ton of output just like this. And you have to pick through this mess to try and identify the single exploit that is supposed to be the correct way that you're going to get onto that machine. So you still need some practice in that sense, but what I've described today in this video is just the sort of general way how you can approach it, just to get you started if you have no sense of what to look at first when it comes to trying to find a public exploit. Now, usually, I'll just add another thing. These Metasploit ones are very good, usually. If you see a Metasploit there, you are pretty much, you can load it up into Metasploit and put in the target IP and just fire those off very quickly against your target to see if one of those can get you a shell. If it's on the OSCP exam, since Metasploit is not allowed, that's not going to be an option for you. But if you are stuck on that one machine and that's the final machine that you still have your Metasploit option available, then that's definitely something that you can really quickly check to see if that particular exploit sticks or not, because it takes really minimal time to check Metasploit code to see if that works or not. So that's just a bit of summary on how you can identify the best ways for you to find the correct exploit code. I hope that has been useful for you. If you have any questions on this topic, please leave a comment down below. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I hope that was detailed enough. If not, yeah, let me know, and I might do a follow-up video on any questions as well. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.